a revolutionary full moon in Aquarius, Saturday, August 9th at 12:55 a.m. Pacific time. Adjust for your time zone accordingly, although the new moon phase will last through Monday night. Hello, my name is Eliane Nicole. I'm your astrologer and tarot reader. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the full moon of Aquarius. I'm going to talk about the aspects it's making and what that means to us here on planet Earth. And then I'm going to take it through all 12 rising signs. And I will put chapters in the description notes below so that, you know, after you listen to the introduction, if you want to skip to your rising sign, where I will talk about specifically which house it's going to be in and what that means, you can do that. And I would say, if you don't know your rising sign, listen for your sun sign. And it's still accurate. It's just another level of the information, but the rising sign just fills in so many more details. So it's best if you know your rising. And if you have a night chart, listen for your moon and rising. And if you don't know whether you have a day chart or a night chart, contact me for a reading. I would love to read for you. I read on Zoom, so I can read for people anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. And, you know, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, by the way, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Please hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. Please like, please comment, please share. It helps me in the algorithm and to grow my community and grow my channel. And it puts me in a position to continue to give these free astrological offerings. I'm actually at 885 followers on YouTube. And, you know, I really would like to break the 1,000 mark. So I'm asking you guys to help me do that. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and help me get to my 1,000 follower next milestone. You know, I have almost 2,000 followers on Instagram and, you know, over 1,000 or over 1,200 on Facebook. So I want to get YouTube to at least catch up to my other platforms. So please help me out with that. And now, without further ado, I'm going to talk about this full moon in Aquarius. Oh, and if you watch my videos before, you see that I'm recording for the first time from a different area in my home, and this is because it's too hot where I normally record. So I'm recording in a room that's slightly cooler, although I'm feeling hot now. The sun sets right in my windows. And anyway, so the full moon of Aquarius, a revolutionary full moon of Aquarius. Why am I calling it that? Well, full moons are always the sun opposing the moon, and that's what makes the moon full. So the sun is in Leo and the moon is in Aquarius, and so this is the axis of individual self-expression versus, you know, the group. You know, it's like the celebrity versus the fans. It's like the royalty versus the civilians. It's the leadership versus the people. But it can also be something like, you know, an individual, a person versus their friend group, or a person versus their, you know, work environment group. You know, Aquarius always represents the collective, and we're all part of many collectives. You know, our family is a collective, our, you know, office place is a collective, and there might be other networks or groups or business associates that you're a part of. Your neighborhood is a collective, your city is a collective, your country is a collective, and on and on and on. So we're all part of several collectives. And this Leo sun opposing the Aquarius moon for the Aquarius full moon is really highlighting some tension between, you know, the leadership and the people, you know, and the individual and the group. And so one thing a lot of astrologers are saying that this moon is completely unaspected, because and I just want to say, if you don't understand the astrological jargon, it doesn't matter. You can still listen to the video and get a lot out of it. Just ignore the jargon. I say the terminology so that, you know, people who are students of astrology or people who know their charts a little bit better know how I'm coming to the conclusions I'm coming to, because I'm not making any of this up. This is a language that I'm translating. So anyway, a lot of astrologers are saying this moon is unaspected because it's not in an aspect to any of the major planets. However, this moon is aspecting several of the asteroid goddesses. And I work with the asteroid goddesses in my practice. I've been working with the asteroid goddesses since the 90s. And I just find that, you know, they don't overpower the planets, but they add details. They add some specific details to readings, and they're accurate details that they add. You know, the asteroid goddesses represent different aspects of the divine feminine, because in the 7 classical planets, it's really only the moon and Venus that astrologers connect to the feminine principle. Although, you know, it's interesting because even from ancient times, every planet has a yin sign and a yang sign. So it's almost like the ancients were accounting for that balance of yin and yang. They weren't giving any planet all of a masculine or all of a feminine. So maybe that's something that happened along the way. Anyway, I digress. But basically, Aquarius, you know, has to do with the future. It has to do with technology. It has to do with science. It has to do with the outsider versus the insider. Aquarius has to do with humanitarian ideals. And so all of these themes are highlighted under this full moon. And all full moons bring culmination and illumination. And this full moon is, you know, bearing fruit from some things on a short term that just happened 2 weeks ago at the Leo new moon. And if you haven't already, go back and watch the Leo new moon video, because we are still technically in the Leo moon lunar cycle. This full moon is the culminating point, so it's the, you know, 2-week point, but we'll still be playing out the Leo new moon cycle for the next 2 weeks. So that's going to give a lot more context to this full moon. But there may be something, if you look at what you were doing on July 24th, the full moon of Aquarius is a culminating point or illuminating point regarding that. But even more so, going back to earlier in the year, January 24th, I believe, was the new moon of Aquarius. So 6 months ago. And so this is the fruition of seeds that we planted 6 months ago, culminating point, an illuminating point of something that we were maybe starting then. And so, yeah. But, okay. I kept going back to how the planets, people saying it's unaspected. So it's aspected by the asteroid goddesses, and most notably, it's conjunct the asteroid goddess Pallas Athene. Now, Pallas Athene is the strategist. She's the daughter and the sister asteroid, and I think she was born out of her father's head. So she has everything to do with intelligence and wisdom, and she has to do with feminine wisdom and strategy divorced from emotion. And I call her the Queen's Gambit asteroid, because she is always, looking at where all the players are on the board. She's just the ultimate strategist. And in a sign like Aquarius, in the Aquarius full moon, because the Aquarius is all about zooming out. And Aquarius is also about the blueprint. And so for Pallas Athene to be conjunct this moon, there's a very strong sense to me that we, this is chess, not checkers. Whatever's going on, in your personal life, in this Aquarian sector. And, in a collective sense, I feel revolution brewing. And I mean, that's part of the Pluto and Aquarius story, certainly. I mean, that's a 20-year arc that's moving very slowly. If you have not already, go back and watch the Pluto and Aquarius video. I will put any videos that I refer to that I'm asking you to go back and watch to give you more context of what's going on right now. I'll put them in the description notes of my YouTube. But yeah, we're in this very transformative time. We're entering this very new world, and this Aquarian moon is highlighting a lot of the themes of this kind of futuristic new world that we are moving into. At the same time, this Aquarius moon is ruled by Saturn, because Saturn is Aquarius' natural ruler, and Saturn is in Aries, conjunct Mars, opposing Saturn, the god of war. So the ruler of the moon is in Aries, the sign of war, opposing the god of war in Libra in his detriment. So, this is an intense time. I mean, certainly on the collective, for the wars that are going on, this is not good news, these alignments. But in our personal lives, it expresses a little differently. I mean, we obviously have more agency over our own personal planets than what's going on in the world, even though we're all dealing with the same energy. But this in our personal lives can be frustrating. I mean, this full moon, again, it's highlighting the new world that we're moving into, but it's ruled by Saturn retrograde in Aries, who is kind of going back towards the old world for some unfinished business, even though he has started laying the foundation for the new world. So he's forming, and then he's conjunct Neptune. So there's all of this like dissolving of old structures and systems, and also the birthing or the building of a new dream, and for the new start that's technically not coming until February 2026, although we did get a taste of it. We're getting some foreshadowing this summer, if you haven't already watched the summer solstice video, because that tells the backdrop of the entire summer season, taking us to the Libra equinox, fall equinox, September 22nd. So we're still in the summer solstice chart. We're still in the Leo new moon chart. Watch both of those videos. Both links will be in the description. But yeah, it just feels like, it's a very revolutionary Aquarian moon. It's, aside from being conjunct Pallas Athene, it is also, oh wait, I wanted to look at this. Sextile Ceres. So this has to do with food and nourishment and opportunity to illuminate, things about how we nourish ourselves and how we nourish our bodies. And it's also, I think, an opportunity to maybe kind of like heal feelings of rejection or abandonment. It's square Juno, so that is, that can be tough on marriages, long-term business partnerships or creative collaborations. That can create a challenge or a conflict. Juno, anyway, I'm not gonna get into that. And she's square Vesta. Yeah. This isn't really a time where we can go it alone, which I talked about that a lot in the Mars in Libra video, which Mars is part of this because the ruler of the full moon is opposing Mars. And so this is a stress test. This is severe intensity. This can be, unbelievably hard work. This can represent, dogged determination and perseverance. Um, there is a kite formation in the sky because Mars is in a formation with all the outer planets as it opposes Saturn and Neptune. So there's a grand Air Trine also going on between Uranus, Pluto, and Mars. So there is a sense of us being lifted into this like higher frequency of existence, and there's a lightness to it. There's an elevation that's happening now. There's like a connectivity and a flow, and the right conversations and the right communications and the right people and the right kind of thinking. It's very like kind of visionary, clear thinking, great communicating, a lot of connectivity and networking and socializing in the most positive sense with the grand Air Trine. And so much of this has to do with like new ideas and new ways of thinking and new conversations based on the new world and the future that we're moving into. That's where a lot of that uplifting, elevating to the higher frequency is in that realm. But Mars in Libra is kind of making it difficult to maybe make some decisions. It may be vacillating a little bit. Maybe doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, that kind of thing. But yeah, in general, I'll just say with the aspects to all the asteroid goddesses, the goddess is very alive and well in this cycle. The goddess is in charge, I might even say, in this cycle. So now I'm going to get into the 12 rising signs and where the full moon in Aquarius is going to appear for your rising sign. But first, I just want to make sure that I didn't leave out anything that I wanted to say. Oh yeah, so I did talk about the kite formation that's happening, but there's something taking shape in the sky, and there's something taking shape in our lives. And if you look at where all of these planets are forming the kite in your chart, you can see what parts of your lives are all coming together to kind of lift you into this next realm, this next level of consciousness, this next frequency of state of being, that kind of thing. Now I'm going to get into the 12 rising signs. Again, if you don't know your rising, listen for your sun. But in general, I recommend listening for your sun and rising if you have a day chart, and listening for your moon and rising if you have a night chart. Okay, so for Aries rising, the full moon in Aquarius is taking place in your 11th house of friends, business associates, groups, organizations, subcultures. Sometimes this house has to do with hopes and aspirations. Sometimes for people in the public eye, it has to do with their fans or followers. So this moon is going to be illuminating things in that area, possibly bringing heightened emotion in that area or a culminating point in that area. Keep in mind that this full moon is ruled by Saturn and Neptune in your first house. So opposing Mars in your 7th house of relationships. And so your house of self, your house of relationships, and your house of friends are all coming to play under this lunation. So there's a culminating point bringing together all those topics, or some kind of illumination coming under all those topics. And for Aries rising, you are really undergoing a complete identity transformation right now. And so, I think that that's what I'll say about that. For Taurus rising, the full moon of Aquarius is in your 10th house of career and attainment. So there will be things coming to light with, your work, your status, your reputation, your position in the world. And it's ruled by Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house. So there may be some, unconscious material that's coming up for you right now, things that have been suppressed or repressed. This could be the house of self-undoing. It can be the house of hidden enemies, so there could be, you know, that, like kind of people plotting against you in the background at work, and maybe this is highlighted. Maybe you discover who that is now. And, you know, also that Mars in Libra is in your house of health. It's also the house of your daily routine. It's also the house of staff and coworkers. It's also the house of small pets. But anytime I see Mars going through that sixth house, it doesn't always mean that there's a health issue, but I do think it means get a checkup, make sure you're up to date with all your doctor's appointments, you know, make sure that you're eating healthy and exercising every day, and just, you know, paying attention to your daily regimen. Gemini rising, the full moon of Aquarius is in your ninth house. So it's bringing illumination or culmination around ninth house topics like religion and spirituality, international travel, cross-cultural experiences, broadcasting, publishing, higher education. And it's ruled by Saturn and Neptune in your 11th house of friends and business associates, who's opposing Mars in your 5th house. So, you know, this could be, you know, so this brings together the ideas of maybe travel and friends and pleasure. This can bring together the ideas, you know, issues between children and your friends, your children and your friends. I mean, there's so many different ways this can present. I don't really want to go down the whole rabbit hole of it, but contact me for a reading, dear Gemini, if you want to know. I mean, I'm a Gemini rising, and so, you know, these houses have so many levels to them, all of the ones that are involved in this one, that there's such a myriad of ways that it could produce. Cancer rising, the Aquarius full moon is in your 8th house of other people's money, so it can be bringing a culminating point or an illuminating point around other people's money. Sometimes that's your spouse's money, your parents' money. You know, there's inheritances, alimony, palimony, settlements, loans, taxes, debts, everything like that. So, you know, and the Saturn, the ruler Saturn, Conjunct Neptune is in your 10th house of career and business associates. So it could be bringing together your work, your home, and other people's money all together, and something illuminating, bringing those topics together for you this full moon. Leo rising, the full moon of Aquarius is in your 7th house of marriage, long-term commitments, and it's being ruled by Saturn, and in your 9th house of spirituality, religion, international travel, cross-cultural experiences, higher education, broadcasting, publishing. So any of those areas that you're dealing with, you know, you could be dealing with one of those areas, you could be dealing with all of those areas, depending on the person and what, you know, how you're playing the tune right now. But, you know, this full moon illuminates something about, you know, your partnership, whether it's a romantic partnership, business partnership, or whatever, and your either international travel, spirituality, broadcasting, publishing, higher education, and you know, your neighborhood, or possibly your siblings, or possibly something you're writing. Again, there's so many different ways it can connect, express. If you are a Virgo rising, the Aquarius full moon is in your 6th house of health and fitness. So it could be illuminating something about your health. It could be illuminating something about a coworker, or if you have staff, it could apply. It could be illuminating or culminating something about your staff. It can also be small pets. You know, it can be a culminating point for a small pet. Yeah, so that's Virgo rising. But definitely get your checkups, make sure all your doctor's appointments are up to date. Libra rising, the Aquarius full moon is in your 5th house. So this is the house of your children. It can be bringing a culmination or illumination around your children, also around fun, sex, romance, pleasure, nightlife, any of those areas. It's ruled by Saturn and Neptune in your 7th house of relationships. So it brings together the topic that I just talked about with relationships, and, you know, and yourself, your own desires and ambitions. And so all of those things are kind of coming together in some way and being illuminated for Libra rising. Scorpio rising, the full moon in Aquarius is in your 4th house of home, the parents, the bloodline. So it could be, sometimes real estate, sometimes the homeland. So it can be bringing an illuminating point or culminating point around any of those topics. It's ruled by Saturn and Aries in your 6th house of health. So that could be coming into play, and it's opposing Mars in your 12th house. So there's definitely a sense of, for Scorpios, of just like really needing to get into that mind, body, spirit alignment, be taking care of your physical health, be eating right, the Sextile to Ceres, be taking care of your mental health, proactively. And the full moon of Aquarius for Leos is in your 3rd house, so it could have something to do with your neighbors, your neighborhood, your daily commute, like where you run your errands and do everything every day. But it could also have to do with your siblings. It could also have to do with writing projects. It could also have to do with short trips. But it's illuminating or culminating one of those topics. And the Saturn is in 5th house, the house of pleasures and fun, trying to block the fun. And Mars is in the house of friends and business associates. So there is like a blockage to hopes and aspirations or to fun somehow happening. And this full moon is illuminating that, it appears, in some way. Or bringing the situation to a culminating boiling point. Capricorn rising, the full moon of Aquarius is in your 2nd house of money and resources, and so it will be bringing to light something about your money or bringing a culminating point to something about your money. Saturn, the ruler's in the 4th house of home, so this can have to do with your parents, your home, your ancestors, your bloodline, your family, your actual, your house, real estate. So, and it's opposing Mars and Libra, so it has to do with, some work things or your public profile or status or reputation. So these are all coming into play together, but I think that they're working pretty harmoniously together. Aquarius rising, the full moon is in your 1st house, so this is a very personal full moon to you. It's illuminating something about yourself, your body, your mind, how you look at the world. Everybody, it's like, so the ruler is in the 3rd house of your neighborhood, your daily commute, possibly your siblings or possibly your neighbors, possibly short travel, short trips, possibly writing. But and it's opposing Mars in the house of international travel, religion, spirituality, broadcasting, publishing, higher education. So all of those topics that I just mentioned will be coming together for Aquarius rising, and maybe it's highlighting your way forward around these topics going forward. And then for Pisces rising, finally, the full moon is in your 12th house, so it may be highlighting some things that have been in your blind spot. It could be highlighting for you where you have been sabotaging yourself some way or working against yourself in some way. It may, be highlighting mental health issues. And the Saturn ruler is in your 2nd house of money and resources. And so this can be bringing in together finances, your own finances, other people's finances. There could be some tension in that area, but it really is being uplifted by the energy of this full moon, which is the future vision, the blueprint. That's the best thing about Aquarius, is zooming out and looking at things from the bird's eye view. So that's all the rising signs. And in conclusion, I just want to say, because I don't know that I said that in the beginning, the best of Aquarius is that ability to zoom out and look at things from the bird's eye view. And that's why I think that this Pallas Athene conjunction is so strong. And I'm really calling this moment chess, not checkers, because the revolution is brewing. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see uprisings and people out on the streets by the full moon. But if that doesn't happen, it's being strategized. It just hasn't happened yet. But we know from, you know, the history and all of these outer planets coming back around, which I've talked about in all of the videos. Uranus is in Gemini, Pluto's in Aquarius, and Neptune is in Aries. This is bringing back cycles of, you know, revolutions and wars and things that are coming full circle, where we who are here as humanity now are being left to pay the karmic bill, and it's tough. And so, you know, but there is the Venus-Jupiter conjunction also. Look to the house that Cancer rules in your chart. And I'm not going to talk about that, but it's bringing a lot of goodness at the same time as all of these other tense aspects. So if you want to know where the goodness is in your chart, where the good spot, where the sweet spot is, where the refuge and love and nurturing is, look to your Cancer house in your chart. And yeah, also watch my Jupiter in Cancer video and watch my Venus in Cancer video, because in both videos I talk about the Jupiter-Venus transit that is happening on Monday, the 11th. I talk about it in different ways, but that's also important because it's kind of in this new moon, this full moon chart. And also Mercury is stationing as this full moon blooms. And so, you know, Mercury is coming to a standstill to go direct. And so there's going to be a lot of people changing their minds in the next couple of weeks as this full moon releases towards the next new moon cycle, and as Mercury, you know, eventually will be out of shadow, I think, on August 25th. And so we'll technically, even though Mercury is going retrograde Monday, still be in retro shade until the 25th. I will do a whole Mercury stationing direct video. It deserves its own video. I think I'm going to leave that here. Oh, I'll do a tarot pull really quickly too, to see if what the cards want to contribute to this conversation. And tell me what you guys think about me reading here on the couch versus there at the table. But so Aquarius full moon card from the tarot is the Knight of Wands. So this has to do with like being in action, you know, and it has to do with like a lot going on, you know, fast kind of galloping energy, you know, and yeah, I don't know. Sometimes nights can be proposals. The Knight of Wands corresponds to the element of fire, and so that makes me think of the Aries Neptune situation that's going on right now, because that's in a fire sign. You know, and I mean, again, you know, this Knight of Wands looks like he's like riding off to battle, and you know, and that kind of brings in this revolutionary vibe that I'm feeling. And just also the fact that, I mean, obviously the Saturn Mars opposition, as I said, is not good for the wars that are going on. It's definitely not a good sign. You know, Mars in Libra is like, you know, diplomacy is under threat, peace is under threat, like, you know. So anyway, that is the Aquarius full moon video. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back soon with more videos. Please contact me for a reading. Astrology works best when you work one-on-one with an astrologer. I would love to read for you. I read on Zoom, so I can read for people anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. You can keep a recording of the reading afterwards if you want. Thanks again for watching. Oh, there's a link in the description notes to book a reading with me. And oh, and also I'm putting my Venmo in the notes. So if you want to buy me a coffee or a tea or a croissant to thank me for this video, for this offering, then feel free to make that donation via Venmo. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.